Hello YouTubers out there, this is Jerry the Movies with your host Jerry Saravia. So today we're briefly going to talk about the controversial Kickstarter campaign. Now this is a campaign to accept donations from people to help finance either a film, a band, as far as their album is concerned, or a book, whatever. This Kickstarter campaign has faced some controversy in the last year or so with regards to three different films that were pipelined through Kickstarter. One of them being the Veronica Mars movie, based of course on the television series, which raised $5.42 million. And also there was Zach Braff, who was able to raise $2 million in 3 days to finance the follow-up to his 2004 directorial debut, Garden State. And he came in after the Veronica Mars movie was financed through Kickstarter. So he was able to get money and cut out, I guess, the middleman. So he doesn't, so the money he can use to his discretion to help make this film. Now, let's do a little background check on Kickstarter. Now, Kickstarter was first launched on April 28th, 2009 by Perry Chen, Yancey Strickler, and Charles Adler. And essentially, this was a crowdfunding platform for gathering money from the public, that's you or I, and this circumvents the traditional avenues of investment, meaning going through a studio or whatever the case may be with regards to the project. So you choose a deadline and a minimum funding goal. If the goal is not met by the deadline, then the project is canceled and the money is returned to the people that pledged. Money is pledged by donors collected using Amazon payments, and the platform is open to backers from anywhere in the world and to creators from the US or the UK. In June of 2013, Kickstarter announced that it would open up to those looking to launch projects from Canada. Now, Kickstarter takes 5% of the funds that are raised, and Amazon charges an additional 3 to 5%. So that's how that works. Now, Indiegogo is another launch, a financial launch campaign. The difference with Indiegogo is that if you don't raise your minimum goal, you still keep the money that you were able to raise, and hopefully it's enough to at least get you going, so to speak. So, Kickstarter started to publish the statistics on its projects in June 21st of 2012, and as of July 24th of this year, there were 107,645 launched projects, 3,990 in progress, and the total number of dollars pledged was $717 million. Now, let's talk about some projects that were where funds were raised. Some of these may surprise you. For example, there was something called Form 1, an affordable professional 3D printer from the creator of Formlabs. And let's see, they got 2,068 backers. They were able to raise $2,945,000. Wasteland 2, a video game, also used this. These are the top 10 projects, so I'm just mentioning some of them. They were able to raise $2,933,000. The top earner was $10,266,000. Now, can you guess what this is for? Something I don't even know what it is. It's called the Pebble e-Paper Watch, e-Paper Watch for iPhone and Android. Pebble Technology. And they were able to raise $10 million. A new kind of video game console called Ouya raised $8 million. And then, of course, you got the Veronica Mars movie for $5 million, and so on and so forth. So this brings me now to Spike Lee. Now, Spike Lee recently raised money. He raised $1.4 million for a film called The Blood of Jesus. And apparently this has to do with people who are addicted to blood. I'm not sure if it's necessarily about vampires, just some sort of addiction. So it may be a horror film, which may be actually the first horror film he has done. Now, question I have is, what the heck happened here? I mean, why does Spike Lee need to raise money to make a film. Well, every director has to raise money to make a movie. That's just the way it goes, and you either do it through the studio system or independently. So back in the day, if you did it independently, you had to find donors. That's how it works. So the Kickstarter is really no different, except that the Kickstarter is opening it up to anyone, to the public at large, to help raise money. But here's the thing. With regards to Kickstarter, Spike Lee, now he raised 1.4 million, so he reached his goal. His goal was initially 1.25 million. The thing is that most of the funds came from how can I put this? The funds that were raised were 4 times more than the funds per person for the Veronica Mars movie. So that means that, in fact, one of the incentives was if you gave $10,000 to Spike Lee for this film, you were able to sit courtside with him at a Lakers game. I guess for 10 grand, in addition to helping finance his film. So the question is, you know, what people were trying to say was, why is it that he didn't take money from himself? Now, he claims he doesn't make, that his cash intake, or rather what he's worth, his net worth, is not $40 million. Although it was reported in 2012 that it was. But even if that's the case, you know, he has real estate property and this and that. He might have some wealth, but maybe not enough to finance an entire film. Now, we don't know if the goal was 1.25 million, he got 1.4 million. Whether this film, you know, what was really the budget? And did he really, how much did he really need aside from the 1.25 million? I mean, is the rest of the money coming from him, or what's the deal here? So Sylvester Stallone's and a couple of other people have also used this Kickstarter because they were missing $250,000 that the investor decided to drop out and not give them. So this has become the story. Now, once again, it's really no different than anyone else trying to raise funds from investors out there. So everyone who invests is an investor in the movie. So there's no difference, except it's just opening it up to the public. One of the criticisms being that, well, this doesn't allow other filmmakers to, who don't have the brand name of Spike Lee, who are not famous, who are not well known, it doesn't give them any breathing room to get any sort of money, and that's really not the case, because if there are investors out there who are interested in your idea and you can't get money at all, then you have a good shot. And if it's someone like Spike Lee and Zach Braff using it, then by all means, this helps to elevate Kickstarter to the mainstream as a source of, you know, funds that you can raise. It's a crowdfunding system. So I really don't have a problem with that. And again, when you consider the other projects that had been passed through Kickstarter, like, you know, for a video game and iPhone and this and that and the other, whether it's Spike Lee is, you know, I mean, what's really, what is really the problem that people have is that they think he is really so wealthy that he could afford to, you know, finance his own films. Most directors can't do that. Most film directors, I mean, let's put it this way, Mel Gibson used to have a fortune of $840 million, and that was more than enough to help finance. I mean, he didn't, you know, finance Passion of the Christ for $840 million. Obviously, it didn't cost that much, but he funded the movie. He took money out of his own bank account to help finance it. So, but Spike Lee doesn't have a fortune like that. And again, most directors don't finance their own films, unless, of course, they're just starting out. Now, what one has to remember is that Spike Lee, for example, had he self-financed She's Gotta Have It. She's Gotta Have It was, which he made in 1985, had a budget of $175,000, and it grossed over $7 million, helping to establish him. So Again, I don't really see the problem, except that, again, the investors for this particular project put in 4 times more than the regular investors for the Veronica Mars movie. In fact, one of them being Steven Soderbergh, a film director who did Ocean's 11 and Che and a bunch of other films, Sex, Lies, and Videotape. And he donated 10,000, so that means he can, I guess, sit courtside with Spike Lee. But I really don't have an issue with this. It helps to, again, elevate Kickstarter to the mainstream and show that other people can use it too. It's a positive tool. It's a good tool. But make no mistake of it, most film directors do not finance their own films. Once they're even in the Hollywood system, sometimes it's tough. I mean, you can't ask Robert Altman, but he had a tough time for the longest time, and I'm sure he had some money, but not enough to finance his own films. Most film directors who start out independently, which is more often the case than not, have to finance. They got to look for money. So, but this allows them to do it. But make no mistake, Hollywood film directors cannot, most of them cannot help finance a passion project of theirs, unless you have a fortune like Mel Gibson once had anyway, of $840 million. And that's all I got to say about that. This is Jerry at the Movies with your host, Jerry Saravia, signing off.